What up? What up? What up? It's Thursday. Welcome to the Off the Bench podcast, Grid and Grind show. I'm your host, Daniel Ball. And as always, we got some of the best grid athletes, their stories, and today is no exception. We got Vilma Gray. Got to get used to the last name. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. We're going to talk about that whole story, how all that went down. Obviously, hopefully we're getting back to normalcy and training and getting ready and pumped for this 2025 United Grid League season. But before Vilma joins us, we got to pay the bills around here. The Grid and Grind show is brought to you by Chinook Seeds. Whether you're on the field or in the boardroom signing deals, Chinook helps you get the job done. 8 flavors, mild to wild. Go to your local gas station, convenience store, grocery store. Go to the snack aisle. I know everybody knows where the snack aisle is. Go pick up the best sunflower seeds in the game, Chinook Seeds. And Old Dominick Distillery. Experience 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis. From bourbon to vodka, whiskey to gin, Old Dominick's got you covered. Stop in today for a tour or to pick up your favorite bottle. And with that, we've got the business attended to. We got the bills paid. I can keep the lights on one more day up in here. But with that, help me welcome on to the show 2024 United Grid League champion and overall badass and newly married Vilma Gray. Vilma, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Just finished coaching my morning classes for the day. I have the rest of the afternoon off, so I'm excited to hop on your show today, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this. You get married, and it's kind of a bittersweet feeling. Like the day itself has got to be amazing, but like the things that you have to do in preparation for the day are now done.
Yeah.
Do you feel good like that all of that's over, or do you kind of miss having like that one thing to look forward to?
It is a little bittersweet in the sense of like everyone warned me that it would feel like it flew by, and it really did. Like the anticipation of getting to the wedding, because we've been engaged for over a year. The anticipation of getting to the wedding, doing all the things, like that felt like it took forever. But the day of, I mean, it was like a blur. Like it was like, okay, like show up at the venue at 11. I was like, man, that's really early to like do hair and makeup. I'm like, damn, like, are we going to take that long? And we did. So by the time we did hair and makeup and everybody was ready to go, it flew by. But this year, it's, all this stuff is close to grid, and, I'm always busy as a gym owner and whatnot, but it's all good, like positive things going on this year. So it's bittersweet, but I'm glad to be married.
Oh, I agree. I can go back to the day I got married, and it was, if you're in the CrossFit space, when someone tells you you're going to need 8 hours to do something, like you can't even fathom like it taking that long. But like the reality is, weddings, like it's very structured and very scheduled, and there's a lot of different details. And I don't know if you had a wedding planner or whatever. We had a wedding planner, and it was like, here's the itinerary, and I'm looking like it's like flipping through a book of things. I'm like, I just tell me where to stand. Like I'll do the rest,
Yeah, I did it all myself. DIY girl. I did all our graphics, all our invitations and everything. But I will say, like, owning an affiliate for as long as I have has made it a lot easier. Like, I know how to do those things. So it's easier for me to just do them than like have someone else do them. But yeah, we did it all. It was perfect. 110 guests, a lot of grid athletes there. Shout out to the Grid Rejects. That's our little group name, but it was really great. And actually, all of us did work out that morning, in case anyone was wondering.
what was the workout? Is it something that was special to you, or just like you get in there and it's just like everybody's just throwing out ideas and you kind of like eventually get tired of like deciding and you just go, we're doing this?
So Griff didn't have anything programmed for me because he was like, just enjoy the day. But for me, I really felt the need to work out, just to de-stress and kind of get chill before I started. And so Vita Vetterkind, Dylan Fullwood, they have this, and Alyssa Martinez, they have the same coach, which is Rose Scott. And we did their workout from her programming, and it was 12 bar muscle ups, 90 double unders, 45 line facing burpees, 90 double unders, 45 toes to bar, 90 double unders, 45 line facing burpees, 90 double unders, and then 12 bar muscle ups. It was actually a really good workout.
I mean, that's just too many burpees for my liking.
90.
Uh, that's 92. Actually, that's 89 too many. I would do one.
Uh-huh.
No, I actually don't mind burpees, but a lot of people just have
Mhm.
this very bad mindset when it comes to burpees. I know, like, when I was coaching in an affiliate, it was you didn't want to. There was this like misconception about like why you didn't want to like tell people to work out prior to
Mhm.
and just have them show up, because in the event that there were burpees in the workout, people wouldn't show up if they knew. And
Yeah,
so you want them to just show up and go, "Oh, okay, like I'm gonna do
it's a
it because I'm
surprise.
here."
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But speaking of that, CrossFit eFit, tell me about that. How long have you been the owner of that affiliate, and what's it been like being the owner of a CrossFit affiliate?
We opened in 2018. Technically, we affiliated in 2017 and then opened our doors the very first month of 2018. And it's been a journey. I mean, we started off in the location we currently are in, which is 2,500 square feet back then. And then, right after COVID, we decided to move to like a 5,400 square foot facility, and it was beautiful, but holy smokes, like way too much space, not the kind of environment that I really wanted to coach in. We really work on like small group personal
Mhm.
training in a CrossFit setting. And I felt like I was lifeguarding coaching classes of 20. I'm not able to coach. And so we moved back. We actually moved back in the middle of grid season last year. And so that was
Wow.
a little chaotic. I spent 6 weeks without a rig because we cut our rig down. It was a 15-foot rig, double sided, 44 feet long, and we cut it down to 12 feet so it would fit in the space. And we wall mounted it. It was a freestanding. So that was kind of fun, not having access to a rig for a couple of weeks. But it's been great. I've met some of my best friends. A lot of my bridesmaids, actually, this past weekend were from the gym or somehow related to the sport of fitness. And it's really allowed me to pursue this passion of helping others, which I think a lot of people lose that in their jobs.
Yeah.
Finding balance as somebody who took their hobby and turned it into a career, that's been really hard. But I will say, probably in the last 3 years, it's been like rock solid.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough situation, especially like you're a level 3 coach. Like
Mhm.
you are very passionate about coaching, and it's important to you to be able to teach and watch the journey of someone who comes in with no background and seeing how they progress from day to day.
Mhm.
And so I can imagine like being in a big space, you lose sight of being able to actually coach people, which is what
Right.
you opened the gym for to begin with. Obviously you want a place to train, but like you want to help others. And so when you downsize, it almost has to feel really good, because now you can actually get back to what you love doing, but
Mhm.
also you get to have a more deeper, like intimate connection with the people that you're training. And when it comes to getting bridesmaids, you're not going to find bridesmaids in a 5,400 square foot place with
No.
25 to 40 people. You got to cut it down. You got to find those people that are for you. But shout out, doing it all yourself. Like that's
Mhm.
a huge endeavor. And let me ask you this. CrossFit has had its ebbs and flows, just the
Mhm.
business itself, with what's out in the media and what's not. Like, what's your take on where CrossFit stands now? Or do you kind of just stand back and go, you know what? I'm affiliated. We're gonna do CrossFit, but I'm gonna. This is our place. Like I don't really care too much about what's going on outside of it.
I would say the latter, but like looking at it from like the 1,000 or 10,000 foot view, like kind of looking down at it,
Mhm.
most of my clients don't follow the games. They don't care about quarterfinals. They do the open. Like this is the most like number wise. I think we had 25, and we're again a small affiliate, probably about 100, 110 members. The most open participation we've ever had ever. And it was because we really talked about like, don't worry about the competition, but let's try to get you to try something you've never done before, commit to something for 3 weeks and see what you can do. But the vast majority of our clients have no idea who Rich Froning is, which is kind of sad. I mean, we do try to watch some stuff, and Rich is the best ever, but in my opinion, anyways. But when it comes to like the stuff with Berkshire Hathaway and the sale and like what happened with Lazar, most of my clients, they may kind of hear about it here and there, but that's not affecting their training or their goals. Most of them are just trying to get fit, trying to get in shape. The My clientele is a little bit older, so 40 plus, all the way up to 70. I think I have someone in their 80s. It's one of the moms of my girls came in this week, and so I'm pretty sure she's in her 80s, and they just want to be fit for life, be able to enjoy their retirement. I'm more of a old school CrossFit kind of gal, so I started back in like 2012, back when Glassman was at the helm.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in functional fitness for health, and when you think about like CrossFit as being like the tree, the roots are the community, and what we do in an affiliate every day. The athletes are the fruit, and that's great. They get to show off what the very best of the tree can offer, but it's not everything. I think with the potential sale, I don't know what's going to happen there. As long as we stay affiliated and it's not a franchise model, I plan on staying affiliated. Now, the moment they try to tell me
Nice.
what to do, we're going to have some problems. But for the
Right.
most part, like if we can keep that affiliate model to where each gym has their own flair and flavor, and we just up the quality in each affiliate, I think that that could be a positive thing for the CrossFit space.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to the roots, it's a community, and that's why
Mhm,
people join is because they want to have this sense of community. They want to know the biggest thing when I was a coach is I wanted no matter who was there, it could be two people, it could be 25 people. I wanted people to know that I cared about them.
mhm,
And I think what you've done at CrossFit eFit is you've created a business, but also a community where people can
mhm,
come and no matter what the sign says, I think you've put in the work to where you can be sustainable and your clients are going to know it doesn't matter what you call us. You could call us, eFit, or whatever. You could call us the home of Coach Vilma, and they're going to show up and they're going to show up because of the community that you've built there. So,
mhm.
shout out to you. It's been a crazy ride over the past few years with CrossFit, but you're still there. You're still
Yeah,
kicking ass, and
yeah,
that's the most important thing.
yeah. Thank you.
Let's Yeah, of course. Let's talk about grid. So, obviously when you are in the CrossFit space, there is some crossover, with grid. And
Mhm.
how do you come across grid? Is it something that you saw yourself? Is it something that someone else approached you about? How does it get into your life?
So it's actually a funny story. I went through a really ugly divorce probably about 4 or 5 years ago, probably five. I don't even know. It's been a long time, anyways. And I, even during the time that we were married, I actually stopped training. It was just super toxic, not in a great place, headspace. We had just made the move to the gym, and I was overwhelmed. We had way too many like people. It was just a lot going on at one time. So I really wasn't training very much. And I had met Taylor Stallings at a local competition probably 10 years ago. And I was like, you know what? As a coach, I probably need a coach to hold me accountable. I really just want to get back to where like I'm working out regularly. I feel good about my fitness. It's going to help my headspace. Like I know that this is what's best for me. And so I had reached out to her after everything was said and done, and that whole chapter of my life had been closed. And basically, the goal was I need accountability. I want to do half decent at the open, like top 10%. I'm not looking for anything crazy, and just get back to where like I feel like myself. Um,
Let me ask you this. I was doing some research and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the way that I interpreted one of the videos that I came across is almost to the point where, you know, your fitness journey, like CrossFit and grit, like it saved your life. Like that's
Yeah.
how like I took it. And that's me putting a lot of words into what you were saying because you never once said it saved my life. But like I took from that, like it kind of did.
Yeah, it definitely changed my life for sure. Because both times I really like when I first found CrossFit and then when I really got back into CrossFit, I was going through probably the hardest parts of my personal life. And so, like, when I met Taylor, I remember I cried on the phone with her. I was like, "Listen, I'm going through some shit right now. Like, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way that I feel. Like, my headspace isn't in a good place. And I know, like, the best thing for me right now is to just have some accountability and have somebody write me things that I don't want to do that's going to keep me on track." And so, like, I will say that made a huge difference for me. And then she was like, "Hey, you're actually like pretty good at this. Have you ever considered playing grid?"
Uh-huh.
And so that's how that kind of whole journey started. But it really was, like you said, reflection back of like trying to find a space for me in which I can take all the stress in my life and kind of like put it to good use. Um, even,
I'll tell you what. If it wasn't for Taylor, there would I don't think there would be any players in grid.
yeah.
Everybody I talk to is like, she talked to me about this and
Mhm.
talked me into it, or told me I was going to do this, or told
Yeah.
me like I had what it took to do it. And like even last episode with Kyle Massey, he's like,
Mhm.
yeah, it was her. Like she had
Mhm.
belief in me that I could do this. And so
Yeah.
hearing you say that is just like it's unbelievable. Like the amount of like, what she's delivered in it. And it's kind of like it kind of stinks that she's not in it anymore, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and she was really the motivating factor for me. Again, I just came to her because I knew her and I felt safe telling her about what was going on because, like, I was told I'm not allowed to do grid. Like, there was a list of things that I was not allowed to participate in from my former partner. And so I didn't. I mean, I spent 2 years spinning my wheels doing really hardly anything. And then when I got my divorce and moved on and started doing some training, I realized, okay, I need some more guidance and direction. That's when I reached out to her. But grid was the last thing on my mind. I just wanted to get back in shape and really feel good about myself. The fact that she saw the ability in me, I really appreciated that. They just didn't have room on the roster that year, and I ended up with the Breakers, which was awesome. Matt is a great coach. I got to meet some of my really close friends like Vita, Vetterkind, on that team. And that's kind of how it started. Now, I had no idea what I was doing. When I started, I did not know how to do a double touch or a triple touch. Like, I thought you could break them up. I didn't realize people did them back to back like that. So I was like, yeah, I could do a total bar and chest to bar. Like, no problem. And then lo and behold, I realized that that's not what they meant.
Yeah.
So,
What was this have you always been in Ocala? Because that's where you're at currently, right?
mhm.
And
um,
so
go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just trying to like put the pieces together. Like if you're in Ocala, like how do you end up knowing Taylor, and how do you end up with the Breakers, a team in Palm Beach? Like it's just it's fascinating to me how everyone like ends up in the places that they end up.
So I have lived in Ocala most of my life. I lived in Tucson briefly. That's where I started CrossFit, and then I moved back.
Mhm.
So I was raised here. I wasn't born here. I was born in Alaska. I've been all over the place. Um, and so I moved back here, opened the affiliate, did all the things, and then Taylor had come up here. There used to be a big competition at a local gym here, and it was called Thoroughbred Throwdown.
Mhm.
Cassidy Lance McWhirter used to go to that gym. And
Yeah.
so I guess she had come up to cheer Cassidy on, or somebody in that space from that gym. And that's where I met her. And I think I have a picture somewhere of us together. This is when I was still a brunette and like tiny. I was an itty bitty little thing. Um, and so I knew that she had done coaching for those girls in the past. So when I had reached out to her, it was more like, again, accountability, but having somebody that I could come to and be like, dude, I'm having a really rough emotional day. Like, what can I do? Because usually I'm the person people come to in my affiliate for that. So I needed that for myself.
It is hard being that person. It's satisfying, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
it's like sometimes like you need that that reciprocation from someone to ask you like, how are you doing,
Mhm.
as opposed to you always, because it's you probably got big shoulders and you can probably carry a lot and it's
Mhm.
probably internalized a lot, but that's never a good thing. Like you need someone to talk to. So having that person to talk to and being able to, vent and understand and like have the support system that you have, especially at this time in your life, is got to be crucial to where you're at today.
Yep. Yep. So like super thankful for her. But again, I never really had the idea of doing grid. And so her roster was full and they had a lot of like the tryouts and things like that that just weren't going to work for me. So she said, well, I think Matt from the Breakers needs players. And so I was like, okay, great. I ended up going down there and that was my rookie season. And I learned a lot very quickly. So one of the big takeaways, if someone's listening and interested in grid, is it's not CrossFit. It is so different. Like you can be a really good CrossFitter and not be very good at grid. You have to be able to push into that deep dark place and like go to a power output and intensity that is beyond what you would normally see for a much shorter time frame, but it's very different. So anyone who's interested in grid, that first year is a lot of learning. A lot of
Yeah.
learning.
We've talked to many people, and one of the resounding statements that coaches and owners, and even some of the veteran players say is like, that having a team full of rookies is tough, and it has nothing to do with their abilities. It
Mhm.
has everything to do with the sport and the speed and the intensity and changing their mindset into believing that it ain't CrossFit. Just
Right.
because you are good at CrossFit, or just because you can go into your local gym and power clean and snatch and deadlift and do all these amazing things, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to
Mhm.
immediately be successful at grid. So for you, how long does it take before does it take a full season for you to like go, all right, I got this, the breakers are good, like I'm feeling it? Or was it something like within a match or two you're like, I'm good, like, I
It
got this
depended
figured out?
it depended on like the match and the movements, and like that first year I was injured, so I had an elbow injury and it was a foot injury that like turned into a knee thing. So like my pistols were not, I've always been really good at pistols, they were not where they should be, I should have been at the time. And my double touches were like, that was just tearing up my elbow. Now it's much better. So I would say like the first match of the season, which was I think the first game that or match that the Breakers won, that one I felt solid in because it was all things I could do: power snatches, box jump overs, things that I'm pretty comfortable doing. The last match was also, that season was also pretty good because it was like dumbbell thrusters, things like that. But the double touches, man, I was struggling with those. My second year was much better because I knew what to expect, and
Right.
got those injuries worked on, and found myself being able to physically do them pain free.
Oh man, is that's there's no better feeling than having no pain, like experiencing like this, like, and it's not like I'm injured or I can't do this. It's just like that, like, oh, all right, I'm gonna say it. I'm 40, and so like that pain of like, I'm 40, like, come on, like let's get going. Like, let me grease the hinges here. Like, but there are days where I go out there and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is that feeling that I used to have." Like, they're very few and far between, but like I get you. Like when
Mhm.
you go out and you don't have pain, or you have some type of something that doesn't feel right and you're pushing through it, or you have this thing that you're like, "Man, that just doesn't feel right." But then you figure out how to do it and you're like, "Oh, that's how it's supposed to feel."
Yep.
um when I see what you can do on the grid, it looks like you move so effortlessly. It just seems like, I hate to say it, it looks like you make it look very easy.
I get that all the time with my clients. They're like, "Damn, coach, like that looks so easy." I'm like, "Well, it's not." Whenever it comes to coaching, but I'm not the oldest on the field, but I started grid when I was 31, 33 now. So like, some of my partners for Partner Forward, I know last year Tristan's only 23. So I'm trying to keep up with these young bucks, and I have a full-time coaching job, which is physically demanding. I mean, our first class here is at 5 a.m. every day. So,
Wow.
like, it's a long, long day for us.
Yeah, that's, what is the last class?
5:15.
So yeah, I mean, you're going, 5 to 5, and I don't know, like if you have other coaches that are helping you out in that, but like if they're not able to do it like that, as the business owner, that falls on you. So it's like, let's go. This is what I signed up for. And then on top of that, you have to factor in, well, when am I training? And
Right.
I think for you obviously probably in a ideal situation, you would want to train at this time and
Mhm.
every day and everything is great. But the reality is like your day might fluctuate when you can train. It might be 2 hours before, 2 hours later. It might be, all right, like I'm gonna have to just do this at the very end of the day just because the way that the day's gone. But you go from the breakers, and then how do you get linked up with the wild?
So, I love the breakers and they were wonderful. The problem is that I live about 4.5 hours away. So what would happen is we would have practice and I would get up that morning at like 4, drive down there 4.5 hours, get there at 8, have the PT work on me for us to start at 9. Then I would train my ass off and then have to hop back in the car and drive back. And so that was like really hard on me and I think it contributed a little bit to my injury status too. You go from sitting to like all in and then sitting again for 4 hours. And that was really hard on me. And so I either wanted to be on Taylor's team or I wanted to be on what I thought was the Gainesville Wild. Apparently not.
Huh.
Um, and so
You were concerned about the 4 hour drive, and then little
yes,
did you know.
surprise. So I was like, oh, Gainesville's about 40 minutes from us. And I was like, perfect. Like it's close enough that like I could go back and forth. And so I had reached out to both. I had told Taylor where I was at. And she was like, here's the information. If you want to come out, we would love to have you come and try out for us and let us know where you're at. And then I reached out to Dan. And he was like, yeah, we're going to do these tryouts in all these different cities. And like, I don't really know who you are. And then he writes back probably maybe 3 to 5, maybe 7 days later. And he goes, yeah, you don't even have to try out. Just show up. So then he goes, well, most of us are out of Atlanta and we are probably going to change the name. Is that a deal breaker for you? And I said, well, how much do you expect me to travel? He goes, we never practice. I was like, that's crazy because
I
but it works. Some things like, I will say our match right before in Tampa against the Aces, I don't think we were prepared. And like our what Dan did that was really great is he got us set up at a gym ahead of time and we practiced the subsequent games after that, just the night before, do a run through or whatever. That was a game changer. Like Fort Lauderdale, when we went to practice for that last championship weekend, everybody was like, and it was the night before the matches. So um, it was
That's
a deal for
great.
me. I
That
know,
is
it's crazy,
that
isn't it?
is I mean, they named the team appropriately because that is wild.
Yes, and they're
Like
crazy. We're
when
all crazy.
but like when you think of like a professional sport, like you're
Mhm.
like, all right, well, what's my practice commitment looking like? And I think that's what's hard for people to grasp is like with the ability to do everything like remotely now, and it
Mhm.
just being like it's kind of the way of the world. Like you don't even have to live remotely close to where the team that you play for. Even though I personally have a belief like it makes a difference
It
being in the
does.
same room with the people that you are going to be competing with. Um, but it's like you said, it's not a deal breaker. It's not something that you can't overcome because I mean we see it last year. Like you guys
Mhm.
are able to overcome that. But what year was that when Dan's like, hey man, like just show up and like you got a
Last
spot.
year. That was
Oh,
last year. And so, because this will be my 3rd year in Grid. And so he was like, we have camp on this date and this date, come up. So camp is an integral part of what we do. And so it's usually like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We go this year in the first weekend of May, and we cover everything. So he already has the data, like, and he'll know what to put where, and then we work together to see like what works great. And then that way, when it like ladder, you know what your data is, right? You know how fast you're going to go and how far you're going to get. Same thing with like the ringer points. You know, that's something you can practice on your own. But some of the elements like partner forward, triad, like the things that I usually tend to be in the most, those, yes, you do need to practice in some capacity. So we typically will do that at camp, or what we do is like we'll FaceTime or chit chat with the other girls or guys that we're working with. And then
Uh-huh.
those are the pieces that we'll clean up like during practice before the match, like the little meetup thing.
So how does that work for you? You're a remote player, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
With your do you have like a secret room over there, like your own like secret training area? Like how like if they're saying, "Hey, we're gonna practice on this date," like you can't just stop business and classes. Like, are you like doing it simultaneously, or like how does that work?
Well, we don't really like FaceTime too much. Like what we'll do, like Sydney and I will like FaceTime each other and say, hey, can you look at X, Y, and Z? Or what do you think of X, Y, and Z? So Dan will give us like a list of the things that we need to work on or what testers he has for us. And we individually submit them. And then the girls will like kind of talk in a group and say, hey, who can do X, Y, and Z? Or how'd you feel about this? And then that's how we kind of piece it together. But typically, I always train by myself. I've trained by myself since I've opened my gym. And so like I have open gym in the morning and where I train from 7 to 9. And then on Mondays, I have, or like my worst day, I have to train from like 2 to 3:30 before my PT clients come in. But I'll lock the gym up like I have it locked up now. Sometimes I'll let people in. It depends on the day. And I'll film the stuff and then we submit it. So we send it to our coach and to our other players so that we can help each other out. So not really like a formal practice. We just do the bits and pieces and then we chit chat together.
Gotcha. And then I'm assuming, match day, you guys are going to spend some time doing a run through of who's assigned to what races, who you're working with, especially like, on a triad or a partner forward, or, a mirror echo,
Mhm.
like it takes a little bit of communication on who's doing what, how many, and like a lot of it too is like there's some feel element involved with like how you are feeling that day. Like you
Mhm.
got to check your ego. And if the rep scheme says you are responsible for doing all 10 reps, but like it's a rough day, like you have to be honest with yourself, but also honest with your team and go like, maybe I'm not the best person to do this part of the race or this
Mhm.
element.
Mhm.
And obviously when you are new, you're now a year into, or a few years into the sport, like those things are a lot easier, I'm sure, for you to divulge because you know what the expectation is. But
Right.
looking at 2024, it was a big season for you guys. You come in through the season. Are you expecting to like when you go through the first match, are you like, man, we got what it takes to win it all? Or are you like, we might could do it, but we need to do a few things first?
You're going to laugh. I had COVID our first match.
I mean, so you were like, oh,
Yeah.
here we go. This is a great omen for this season.
Yeah, so, like, last year was like a dumpster fire. It was probably the one of the worst years of my life. It was great in the sense that, like, well, he's my husband now, but, I got engaged and we went to Costa Rica. It was awesome, but, like, I had COVID my first match. I didn't know I had COVID, but I felt really weird. And like for me to not be able to do rope climbs was kind of funny. And then I tested positive the next day. My mom got diagnosed with cancer and passed away within 8 weeks.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so
so that
sorry.
was crazy. And then we moved gyms, so that was like super stressful too. So at our first match, like I don't know if my mom had, I think she had just passed when we had our first match because she was still alive when we went to camp, and then she passed away shortly thereafter. Um, and then being sick, like my headspace wasn't the best. And then our second match was the one against the Aces in Tampa, and that's when I didn't have a rig. So I didn't have the ability to practice rope climbs or to practice anything gymnastics that time. the last or Vegas hot mess because I live in Florida. So trying to get out, like I flew red eye, competed the next day, flew back. So I think my body battery on my Garmin was like 2. And then the last match was like probably where I felt like the best in terms of ability. But when you say like, oh, you know, depending on how you feel that day, like all three, the first 3 matches last year were rough, rough. So they gave
Yeah,
me the context of if
you
like I can survive it. Yeah.
it was going to take a lot for
Yeah.
you not to feel better than you felt the entire season
Right.
on
So I was
that
like, if I
day.
can get through like those 3 matches, I can do anything. I can literally do
Yeah.
and that's my scale. But I didn't know that the Wild was like a championship contention team until Jim from Valor Fitness was like, yeah, I have you guys like written down as like the winners of the season. I was like, really? I just picked them because I thought they were close. So
Yeah. When I, prior to the season starting and I started looking at things, I was like, one of the big things that I looked at was, all right, well, what are the match elements? Like what format is the match and what are the elements? And is it a strength bias? Like, what is it? And I felt one of the things that I felt really strongly about was how much strength that your team had.
mhm.
There was depth, but there was depth in the form of like, we have strong people. They can also do these other things. And like, you might be a utility person, but you are a strong
Mhm.
utility person. And so when I started putting all the pieces together, I was like, man, it would be tough for them, you know, not to make a push for a championship. And so then when you're in the playoffs, I boldly tell Jonathan and Mia when they came on the show, I was like, I'm not even concerned with the playoffs. Like, I got you. I got
Mhm.
y'all. I got the Wild all the way. And they were like, oh, don't, that's the kiss of death, this or that. But, um, you know, when it came down to it, you guys showed up in a big way. The playoffs, it was, not that it was easy, but it wasn't really like there was no point when I was watching the playoff matches where I felt as though you guys were in jeopardy of losing. You were in total control from race 1 to race 11 for both the semifinals and the finals. What was it like taking on, the aces with Taylor and like that, the whole story of it being, her last, hoorah, and like you get to be on the other side of that grid going, I'm gonna end the season of the person that got me in this. Like that's
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely like very emotional. But I was dialed in. I was ready to like make some heads roll. I like that match format. It's a good one for me. So I was like, hell yeah, like let's do this. Cause the first 3 races, A, like I had a bunch of shit going on. B, like I'd never done those match formats before. So that was my first time ever doing them. And then C, like I didn't know what they felt like in the moment. So by the time I got to championship, I had already done those to my rookie season. So I was like, hell yeah, like this is my bread and butter. So the aces, though, I was more nervous about playing against them because, in my opinion, and I may ruffle some feathers, they're a phenomenal team. We should have been in the
yes.
final match with them. It should have been us against them. The Sharks are a great team too, like no shade, but the depth on the team of the aces is like far and beyond. And we won by, in my opinion, a smaller margin than we did with the Sharks. With the Sharks, like we conceded a whole race element.
Yeah,
Like that's
I have my own personal feelings on that. I mean, it didn't matter one way or the other,
right.
but like, come on, Dan, like,
Well,
do,
we had an
do the
injury. That's
race.
why we had an
I
injury.
know, I know.
So, and from the
Um,
perspective of strategy, it worked out for
I
us
I get it, I
and for
get
the
it. I
drama.
mean, if it was, there's that too.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into a little bit of the
Yeah.
drama, but you guys end up winning the championship,
Mhm.
well deserved. Like I said, it wasn't, the Aces matchup, like you said, it seemed like that was more of a test than the actual
Yes.
championship, and it nothing to do, I think, with the Sharks. It was just everything was you
Mhm.
guys were just really good. I don't think
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of people. You could have put a super team together, and it would have been tough to beat y'all that day. Like you
Agreed. I
guys
think
were dialed in.
if we had our whole roster in
Mhm.
Vegas, we would have beat the super team. We almost beat them, and like we just had really unfortunate mistakes made on many levels. So
Yeah. Well, and I mean, plus you got, good players like yourself flying in and like getting to work like quickly and then going, like dreading the fact that like not that your mindset is like I just can't wait for this to be over because I know I got to get back on a plane and get out of here. Like it's just such a quick trip,
yeah.
but like it's hard not to think that way. But you guys, you get back and you're dialed in and you guys do the thing. So what is you know what's it like now that that's over, knowing like the target is on your back, like you are the team to beat?
Doesn't really change anything for me. I mean, I feel like this season I'm gonna have more asked of me just because I am gonna be probably doing a little bit more of the strength stuff. Not a ton of strength stuff, but I'm, true utility. So I do have the ability to do things that are not typically I lean more gymnastics, but I'll be
Right.
doing a little bit more of the barbell stuff. So it's gonna force me to do things outside of my comfort zone, which is a good thing. Like that's why I continue to do grid. It gives me an outlet for my training and it pushes me to continue to grow. Griff Roel has been my coach for the last 2 seasons. And he was a teammate. I don't know if he's playing this year or not. But it's been nice working with him because he knows what I'm capable of as a fellow teammate. And he wants to push me in the direction where maybe I get out of quadrant 1 and 2 and start playing around in quadrant 3 and 4. But I am a smaller athlete. I'm 5'1" and 130 pounds. So there's going to be like a limit to the things that I can do, and that I'm willing to do. But yeah, this season's going to be really, really fun. A lot of new players. So I'll get to meet everybody in a couple weeks.
Nice.
And so I still have my best friend with me. So Sydney is on the wild with me. Hashtag Team Soma. So just look for us. We're ridiculous on the grid. We'll just sit there crisscross applesauce and like chit chatting the entire time. So it's always fun. I'm just glad she's on my team with Carrie and everybody this coming year. So it'll be a good time.
Nice. What is obviously when you're in the sport for a while, like your goals might change from year to year, but like personally for you, like what do you hope to accomplish this season? What's the goal just for you?
Um, so a few things season wise. I would like to get to like 20 unbroken double touches. I'm close. I've never that would be
Could you,
cool.
could you imagine like you came into this sport not knowing
Yeah.
how to do it and like now you're talking about
Mhm.
doing 20 on like
Yeah. So I'm at 15 right
you
now.
gotta be pumped about that.
It is really
Like
exciting.
I'm pumped up for you just to say that. Like that fires me up.
Um, I would like to clear all the ladders this year, but again, I'm itty bitty, and there's some talk about some changes to the ladders that are disadvantageous or are not at my advantage, considering I'm smaller statured. Um, and then yeah, basically like my obviously winning is great. My thing is I want to execute to the best of my ability. So, because of my injury my first season with my foot and my knee, pistols on my left hand side have always been a nightmare. I would love to just like be able to rebound my pistols on the left without pain, or not without pain, comfortably. They don't hurt anymore. So just rebuilding that back. And really executing everything to where I was like, damn, that was perfect. Like that's what I want and is my goal is like I can do everything for the most part. Like some things like mirror, I'm not the one. But like if I could just execute the things I want to work on perfectly, like that's where I'm at for this season.
Yeah, definitely. There's no from what I can see. Now I can only see what is put on websites and what's out there, but no Griffin, no Amanda from what I can
Mhm.
see on the roster. I don't know if that means they signed a contract and they'll be there if they can. I don't know. Um, but when you go to Atlanta in a couple weeks for, this camp day, is it what is it going to be like knowing that they're not there and those are two like big pieces of what
Mhm.
you guys were able to accomplish last year?
Um, I think that we have enough depth on our roster that we'll be okay. We have a lot of really great new players coming in. It's going to be getting them to understand, like, just because you can do 115 for 7 hang snatches doesn't mean that you're in. You have to like try to be as fast as Sydney, which is almost impossible. But just getting them to understand that. So it's going to be less of like the concern of like getting them to be able to do it and more along the lines of like gearing them to be prepared for what grid is. So these are great,
Right.
talented athletes. I mean, the year that I was on the breakers, we were all new. Every single one of us, I think, except for 1 or 2 people, were brand spanking new. And that was the first time, I think, in their entire history that they won a match. So that being said, without Griffin and Amanda, I think that we'll have some new players that will fill in those spots. And I think that a lot of us existing players are going to step up to the plate. You know, Sydney was listed as a strength athlete. She really can do everything. And there's times like she'll come down here and visit me and we'll train together. And we FaceTime pretty often enough to where she's like, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you help me with that? And vice versa. But I think a lot of the players that we had last year that stayed for this season have a lot of ability and they'll be able to showcase not only what they're very, very good at, but also the things that they've been working on, like the gymnastics or the strength stuff for some of us. Like I know I'll probably do some more of the strength work. And so that's an opportunity for me that I'm excited for because I feel healthy. I feel good. I'm in a good headspace. I have good balance work life. And I think that I can probably be part of Mirror and feel good about it, you know? Whereas like in seasons past, I wasn't there or it wasn't asked of me. So there wasn't an opportunity for me to step up to the plate. So I think we'll be
Yeah.
just fine.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's going to give people who more opportunity to do things that they're good at. It just
Mhm.
when you have elite athletes that, are taking up the entire team, which you guys have like an entire roster of elite people, like
Mhm.
somebody's not going to be able to do certain movements
Right.
because the fact is like you know what your strengths are and somebody might be better than you. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're not good. And so
Right.
now with 2 people removed, like it just opens up opportunity for people who are still good at those movements to showcase themselves even more.
Right.
As as we get ready to wrap up, I got a couple more things for you. All right. First thing is let's fast forward. In order for the Wild to contend for a championship, what do you need to do? Like, is there one thing that you guys need to focus on?
I think like
Yeah,
as a team is getting everyone on the same page, especially the newer athletes. They're very talented, but getting them to understand what grid speed is, having grid awareness, those type of things, and the little tips and tricks that make grid different than CrossFit. So really just getting them educated on that part and executing those movements and those standards correctly.
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and that's going to be a battle for a lot of teams. I mean, you're
Mhm.
looking at a brand new Houston team that's in the boat of, they have some players that have done it. They have some
Mhm.
players that are returning to it, but it's a communication piece. Same thing with the Venom who are now out in
Mhm.
Vegas. And the even the Breakers are retooled in multiple different ways with a brand new roster. So it's going to be interesting. I could make the case for a ton of really really good storylines, but the biggest storyline obviously is in May 24th in Miami.
Mhm.
It's a rematch of the championship. It's the Wild taking on the Sharks, and
Mhm.
you're Vilma. You're very smart, so I need you to help me do something if you don't mind. Help
Okay.
me tell me what this means. I need some help. I've been trying to figure it out. What exactly is meant by this?
Last season was close. This one won't be 50 days. I mean, I think they think they're going to win, but we'll have to see when we get there. I mean, we did. Let me just say this. I don't think ever in the history of grid has a team conceded an entire race, still won by the margin that we won by, and we didn't even win what sprint relay. I don't think we even won
Yeah,
that. I don't think that's ever been like a thing. So it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, history has already been made by the fact that we literally didn't do a whole ass component of the race and still won by a huge margin. That's
look,
all.
this is out there too. Like the Sharks. claim that they went to a trampoline park prior to the championship
That sounds like
match.
a personal decision.
And
And
what I will say is that graphic strikes no fear in me as, uh, the host of this show. So I don't see how it would strike any fear in a lot of others other than just like, hey, I'm just putting this out there to start shit and like, let's go. Like, okay, cool, get it.
let's just say, like,
Have
when we
fun
were
with it.
lining up with when we were finishing the match and, saying, talking to the aces and stuff, the entire team is like, "Please whoop their ass." So, like, that's all I'm gonna say.
Ooh, I love it. I
And all
mean,
I'm gonna say is I would say that we did.
definitely. You
Yes.
definitely took care of business. And like we all know, like this 2025 is no longer 2024. And what happened in 2024, you kind of got to
Right,
erase the mind and go, all right, this is new. We're not going to
right.
harp on what happened last year because if you did, you would just put your feet up and go, we're the champs. And we're always
Yeah,
going to be the
yeah,
champs. But the reality is you have to defend and you have to retain. And in
right.
order to retain, like you got to go to work and you ain't
Yeah.
got time worrying about making these cute little graphics and stuff like
We
that.
didn't have the time for that.
Uh,
And, at the end of the day, they were a great team, like a great
yes.
matchup. They have a lot of talented ladies. I just have to giggle when I see those posts because, for us, like our team is very humble. They work very hard. But we made the best person win. But regardless of what happened last season or this season, all I'm going to say is that history was kind of made at the tail end of that match last year. So
There you go. Well, Vilma, that is a great way to end our conversation. Anything you want to plug or promote before you get out of here?
I do have a couple great sponsors that I work with. Lubricin, you can use code Vilma to save 20% off at checkout. It's a product that I personally have been using for the last year and a half, and they've been great. Same thing with Grassroots Co-op. They're a regeneratively farmed group of farmers throughout the entire United States. Truly grass-fed and finished, pasture-raised. You can use the code Vilma at checkout to save 15%. And then my local sponsors, so we've got Reboot Ocala Nutrition Center, and also Ocala Functional Health. They keep me in tip-top shape so that I can continue to do this as one of the older grid athletes. And then obviously my gym. So CrossFit eFit and all of its members, thank you so much for your support. We have a lot of drop-ins that also support us as well. Shout out to Aloha Enterprise, Aloha Creatives. His name's Bob. He's great. Bob, Mike French, thank you so much for all your help. They're sponsors on my uniform this year, so it's definitely appreciated.
Let's go. If you want to know more about Vilma Gray, head over to Instagram at coach_Vilma. She's also in her bio. She's got all the links, promo codes that she was just talking about.
Mhm.
Got a link to the Facebook, got a link to the eFit CrossFit community. If you're ever in Ocala, I highly recommend you hopping in, go for a workout. You'll get the
Heck yeah,
best coaching that you've ever received from Vilma herself. Uh,
absolutely.
Though I appreciate it. I wish you a happy, safe, successful, injury-free 2025 United Grid League season. And who knows, you might be able to repeat as champion, and then we'll bring you back on and we'll talk more about that.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.
You too. I appreciate it. That is Vilma Gray, everybody. If you like hearing Vilma's story or you just like hearing average Joes talk X's and O's, please like, share the podcast on Facebook. Head over to YouTube, like, subscribe, notifications. That way you're one of the first to know when new content is being dropped because we're putting new content up every single day. We had a great week on the Grid and Grind show, and next week is going to be the continuation of that. We're talking to Dan Jackson on Monday. On Tuesday, Brielle Macarelli from the Palms. And then we're continuing the Atlanta Wild train. We're bringing on Carrie and Tyler Billington. They're going to talk to us about what it's like, being a couple on the grid, man. That's crazy. But with that, appreciate all the love, all the support. We'll see y'all next week. Remember, be good. If you can't be good, be safe, or be safe. If you can't be safe, be good. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grid and grind all the time. We're out.